Hey, I'm Darkscore, and this is my series on deep diving into different parts of my game, Project Unknown. Today, we're going to be deep diving into the chunk management system. So let's start. So everything starts in the new game script, which is run whenever you create a new game. You can see here that we have a bunch of game data variables and we are setting them. This is what gets everything running. Specifically, these three right here: game title, world seed, and difficulty. The main one we're going to be focusing on today is world seed. The way we get our world seed is whenever we run the game and we press this button, anything we type into this seed category will be turned into a seed. Now, my camera is very zoomed out, as you can see, but if we go to the seed, you can see it's slightly different than what it was before. Now, how we do this is, well, we check things. So we first check if the seed box is empty. If it is, we assign the player a random seed. Now, if it isn't empty, we set the world seed to be whatever the text is as a hash. We take the hash, it produces a 32-bit value, and we use that integer as our world seed. Now, we go into our chunk script. This is what actually creates the lines for our chunk. Now, let's not worry about this generate chunks just yet. Let's look up here. We have our chunk coordinate and our chunk size. Our chunk coordinate is in vector 2i, and our chunk size is 32. This represents tiles. Now, under here, we have our tile dictionary. Now, since this game is in prototype, we don't have the best systems for everything. So currently, we are individually setting each tile with a specific threshold, an atlas chord, and if that tile is walkable. Currently, this walkable has no effect on anything, but it will. Then we have our stone item, again, very temporary, which is a preload to our stone scene. Then we have an array of tiles, which is every single one of our tiles that we set up here in our dictionary. Now let's go into our generate chunks. You can see it takes a few things. We have our world tile map, which is an array, our world, which is a noise value, our biome, which is a noise value, and our height, which is a noise value. And then finally, our height layers, which is a float. Now, if we look into this, we can start to see some things. We have two for loops that checks the x and y's in our chunk size, which if you saw earlier was 32, meaning our chunks are 32 by 32 tiles. Now we get our world position, which is what position in the world is our chunk coordinate in terms of our chunk size. And then our world offset, which is where in the world our chunk generates. And you can see we have three different noise values here: our flat noise, our biome noise, and our height noise. Our flat noise is our general world. It's what produces what is dirt and what is stone. Our biome noise is a layer on top of that. It uses the same seed, but it is set to have different height maps and values over the world. And we use that as our biomes. So specific height maps are specific biomes. And then we have our height noise, which this uses the biome, and then it, depending on the number we get for our biome, we create tiles and layers. Now, our height noise uses our biome noise. And what it does is it takes our biome noise, and if our biome noise, let's say, is lower, so it's closer to the zero point 0.1, 0.05, that type, so under zero point 0.5, our height noise is gonna stay in layers 0 and 1, most predominantly. Now, that creates a height system, which with isometrics isn't actual height, but it's the illusion of height. Now we have our biome ceiling and our height level, which just declares which level it should use, our tile map, because we can have as many tile maps as we want height layers, and that's what this is doing. And then let's not worry about this code right here, because this is a very test case for spawning tiles, just to get it done for the prototype. Now, since we have this chunk script, we need a way to generate these chunks. And the way we do that is our chunk manager. Our chunk manager is a pretty beefy system in my terms because I'm a beginner, obviously. So it starts up here. We have our chunk tile map, which is our tile map layer. This is set in our scene right here. Now we have our chunk, which is a preload to our chunk scene, and our bunker hatch, which is how the player gets back into the bunker after they leave. And here is where we have our 3 noise types that we set: our flat noise, our biome noise, and our height noise, which each one of them has their own scale, which we later pass as the frequency. And you can see here that our height map layers, okay, retry that. And you can see here that our height noise has an extra variable called height layers. This is how many layers we want to add to our script. Now, for prototype testing, I only had 1 layer because there were still a few bugs I needed to work out. But if you see here, if I set the layers to 5, I go into my game. Now when we go out, we can see that there's going to be more layers. We can see that there's different layer values, and it gives the illusion of height. Now, there's still things I have to fix with this, like collisions and like spatial awareness almost, but it adds character to the world. And that's what this entire system is doing. Now, we have our total height levels is the level of our base tile map layer, which is our chunk tile map, and we add our height map layers to 1 because this 1 is represented by our base tile map layer. Now in our ready function, we are setting all of our noise values. Then we are adding our base tile map, which is our chunk tile map, to our world tile map layer array. This array holds all of our tile maps and all of our tile layers. This script here takes whatever number we input for our height layer, so how many layers of height we want, and creates them. And then this just adds the bunker hatch. Now, the main part of this is our update chunks. In this, we get the player's position, and then we run a for loop for our X and our Y within our render distance. Our render distance is a value I have set to physically choose now, but I plan on having the player choose their own. And then it will get the chunk coordinate, which is what specific coordinate that chunk is in instead of that tile. And then if our loaded chunks doesn't have that chunk in it, we will add it, and then we will generate that chunk so the player can see. And then we also have our unloaded chunks, which if it is outside of the player's render distance, we will free up that chunk and the player will no longer be able to see it. And that is how I generate my world. And with that, that is the end of our video. If you like the game and you want to support it throughout, consider going down to the description and playing the prototype, as well as joining my Discord server and giving me feedback. There's a Linktree link in the description, and that has my YouTube, my TikTok, my itch page, and my Discord. And watching this video means a lot to me, and thank you so much. If you again find this interesting, maybe consider subscribing to the YouTube channel where I will post more devlogs, and maybe consider giving the video a like, maybe throwing a few comments. And we are actively dying right now, and that is a part of the game. That is a part of the systems that I am creating. And with that, hope everyone has a great day. Bye.